Vide ton sac, the new podcast by Nightline France, which gives a voice to students. Welcome to the 4th episode of the How Are You Vraiment podcast season here on Vide ton sac. Today, B from Nightline Paris Communications Team is interviewing Aankana Choudhary, a business student and YouTuber. Aankana will be sharing her student experience, her thoughts about student mental health, and her YouTube projects. We hope you enjoy it.
Hi, Aankana. Thank you so much for joining me today on our podcast. This is the How Are You Vraiment mini series on Vide ton sac with Nightline. Could you please introduce yourself for us?
Hi, Vide. Thank you for having me. So my name is Aankana. I'm from India and I come from a little place near Mumbai called Pune. And I'm 23 years old right now and I'm studying MSc in International Marketing and Business Development in SKEMA Business School. So yeah, that's it.
At what stage of your degree are you in at SKEMA?
So I'm almost done with it. It's my last semester. I had a 2-year program, so it was total 4 semesters. So right now I'm in my 4th semester and I'll be done with it. And I just have to do an internship.
So you've done a lot of the hard work already, but it still sounds like you're at the final push, which is probably quite a challenging time. So, I mean, how have you been feeling these days with the workload and your YouTube and friends and family and just everything?
I think at the beginning it was still better during the first lockdown because, we thought maybe this thing will get over soon. And it was a new experience, definitely. I was living with one of my friends during the first lockdown. So it wasn't too stressful. We had our online classes and it was a new experience overall with everything that was going online. But after that, it just got too much. You can't meet your friends and you can't get out. There have been curfews, and I guess it just gets too much towards the end when, especially if you're living alone. Maybe if you live with your friends or your schoolmates, it's fun. But if you're living alone, like for example, when I was living in Lille, I was alone. When you're living alone, you don't feel like cooking for yourself. With friends, it's fun. You want to do it together. But alone, it can be depressing because sometimes you know how much can you even talk to your friends on call. Sometimes you just want to just like hang out and cook and chill together and maybe study together. But if you're living in a studio alone, you don't want to cook alone for yourself. And so like the whole lifestyle becomes very like not organized and not healthy at all.
Yeah, it can be really quite easy to slip into that apathetic or depressive sort of way of thinking and behaving, especially when we really are dealing with a really tough time at the moment. And I know exactly what you mean. And so you were living alone when you were in Lille. How long have you been living in France and like what's the journey been?
So at the beginning, I was in the south of France, in a place called Antibes, which is just next to Nice and Cannes. I was living there for almost 8 months because I had 2 of my semesters there. And during the summer, I moved to Marseille just to spend the summer. And it was right after the first lockdown. So my first semester, let's say from 2019 September to January was pretty good. Like life was amazing, to be honest. The French Riviera life and just the sunsets, the ocean, it was very beautiful. And And then, we just heard about there's this virus going on around in China, and we didn't think, that it's going to reach like Europe. And we had some Chinese international students with us, and we would ask them, is your family okay, and how is everything going? But we never really thought that we could be in the same situation. And so by February, March, when, things started getting a little tough, in Italy, and from Nice, Italy is very close, like just few hours by train and you reach the Italian border. So things started getting pretty serious after that. And then finally, when the school decided to go all online, that's when at that point, none of us realized how it's going to be initially, but we were good with it. Like, it was fun, something new to try. And I was living with another Indian roommate, but we were not so close together. And sometimes if you choose wrong roommates, it can be really tough. So I finally decided to move with my friend, because maybe 1 month in a lockdown with a friend is much better than someone you disconnect with, and you just so finally I was with my friend, and I think Antibes is a small town. Like, it was not so strict over there. You could still get out. It was very difficult at that moment to get a mask. All the masks in medical shops were not available. And so it was better at that time. And then eventually, when the lockdown finished, I moved to Marseille for my summer, and I think everything seemed better because there was no lockdown and we didn't hear much of the COVID cases. But as soon as I moved in September 2020 to Lille campus, that's when I really noticed how different it is from the south, because in Lille, you always, even if you're walking on the road, you had to wear a mask. It was serious over there. Like, things were much serious than what I experienced in the south. So I got used to it, but it was very different. And I also opted to live alone in Lille. So I had a studio, but that studio was also with other students. So we kind of did gather together, and I was living with like 5 other French students, and they were amazing. Like, I really enjoyed with them. We cooked together. We did everything together. We watched movies sometimes. So things were not that depressing. Like, even if there is like a lockdown or a curfew, you come back home and you're chilling with your roommates. So it was fun. But yeah, sometimes it was lonely. Like, in your studio, you can't always keep disturbing your flatmates or your other roommates or people in the house. And so sometimes, you're calling your friends and your family, but to a point it gets too much, and you feel lonely and sad, and you probably want to go back home. But with the COVID restrictions, it's even difficult to go back home.
Yeah. Gosh, you've had quite a lot of moving around then, and you've seen a lot of different parts of France, and like how different communities have had to deal with COVID restrictions and how that's changed. That's quite an interesting insight that you've had, really. But yeah, and the range of, in terms of living with friends and then living kind of alone but with a communal space. I'm guessing that interesting. And I guess, gosh, I mean, I've moved around a bit during the whole COVID crisis. I spent a while, I'm from the UK, so I spent a while in England with my family, which was a very different experience to then coming back to Paris, and I'm now living on my own. So yeah, it's an interesting one. And so how come you moved to France in the first place to do your degree?
I mean, I was looking to do my master's in Europe, anywhere in Europe. So my first choices were France, Germany, and Netherlands, just because of a better kind of education and economy for later on to get a job. So I did look into different institutes, but I wanted to do something in marketing. And the program that SKEMA Business School was offering was very interesting. I looked at the course catalog. I also spoke to some previous students who have studied and liked the program, and I got to know a lot about the program. So plus it was in English. Like I think French language is beautiful, but it takes time to learn the language. So I was looking for something in English. So I really liked the whole program and the international feel to it, because SKEMA has campuses all around the world. So you could maybe have 1 semester or 4 months in France, or you could go to China, or you could go to US, to Brazil. There are many campuses. So that's why I think most of the students choose to study in SKEMA, because of how international it is. And so you get to meet a lot of international students, and overall you learn a lot, cultural differences and just everything. It's nice to meet people from around the world.
Wow, yeah. No, it sounds like a brilliant set of reasons to have traveled around, and yeah, it sounds like an incredible university, SKEMA. We recently at Nightline spoke with a student mental health association at SKEMA called Open Mind, and have done a few little collaborations with them. I recently interviewed a girl who is the vice president of the association, actually. But yeah, she was telling me how there were a lot of campuses, and that the president of the association was currently in Sofia in Bulgaria. So yeah, you really are just everywhere, which is incredible. And I was going to ask you as well, can we talk about your YouTube channel, and when did that start? And why did you start the YouTube channel? And
when I wanted to come to France for my studies, I couldn't find the information I required. I see a lot of Indian students trying to go to Germany to study in Germany. So I watched a lot of videos about students in Germany, and specifically Indian students in Germany, but never something about France. And so I had this idea that I should probably, probably make a blog or maybe a video to just maybe give information to students. But I didn't really think much about it, and I didn't have the time. But initially, when the whole lockdown started, I saw that I have a lot of time and I could do something. And so I was free during the summer. So from May to August, 4 months, I was free, and I didn't really have much to do, because initially I planned to do an internship, but because of COVID, there were not much internships available, and even part-time jobs. So I thought that, okay, let's make use of this time and probably start what I have decided to. So I really did my research to see how really you because there are so many different things you need to know. You probably have to plan things. You need to know what kind of information students are probably looking for, and editing, because I did not know how to edit. So I learned to edit, and I think it was fun. So right now, I still want to continue making a lot of videos, but because of my last year, I have a lot of work to do, plus I have my thesis, plus I have to look for internships, so everything is just too much. But I still I always tell students, if they have any question, to text me in my Instagram, because I make sure to answer to everyone, even if I probably don't have a video about it, but if they have a question, they can always reach out.
Oh, that's really lovely. well done you for using your spare time over lockdown so productively as well. Like that's such a nice kind of tangible achievement that you've got and you can look back on, and I'm sure it's been really helpful for a lot of students. And yeah, I mean, when you see something that's kind of missing, good for you for like filling that space that might have been there on YouTube. That's really cool. And I really like your videos. Like you've got a very clear way of presenting. You're very likable as well. Like I think, it's great.
That's really kind of you to say. I don't know, but I sometimes I get really nervous and I don't want to come out too strong to people sometimes because, especially when you're out there in social media, that you have to accept the good comments and the bad comments. And, as of now, I haven't really received any negative comments. I'm happy about that. But I really like what I'm doing, and hopefully it will keep on going.
Well, I don't think you deserve any negative comments, so yeah, it makes sense to me that you haven't received any. But yeah, no, well done. And yeah, I mean, imagine that that could be a whole other conversation about the mental health issues that might come out of doing YouTube. And like, I'm not sure we have time to go into all of that today. That would be a really interesting conversation. For people who make videos and people who watch as well. But, I mean, what kind of mental health support services were you aware of, either like in Mumbai or in the parts of France that you've lived in? Have you come across any before?
I do watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I think these days there are a lot of applications and websites available to really reach out if you have any kind of stress or any kind of problems. And I think it's super nice to know about these things. And there's a YouTuber I follow who very openly, talks about her mental health and her issues. And she advertised this one website. I don't remember the name, but I did have a look at it. But that's all that I know. Like, I didn't really know much about any counselors or websites where I could reach out to. So I think when you texted me about nightlife, I was so happy that something like that exists, and especially for students, because we don't really have, the kind of money to spend because, you have a budget every month. And if you're not doing a part-time job, maybe you can't go past that budget. So, I think, if I knew about nightlife before, I would have tried it the whole quarantine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's one of my favorite things about the Nightline Association is that it is free for students. I agree. I mean, it might not be like sufficient psychological support for everyone, but for a lot of people, having a fairly like minimum level of psychological support is enough, and it's free. So thank you for that, and hopefully, you can use it before you are, whilst you're still a student, now that you know about it, if you're interested. But, and so, on that note, like, what are your personal goals, if you have any, in terms of taking care of your own mental health during this, pretty challenging time, and you've got very much the grand finale of your studies for the time being, and everything that's going on?
For now, I am planning to go back and visit my family and friends. So that's going to be helpful, and especially the food. I miss Indian food and especially like home cooked food. So I think that's going to definitely help me. And other than that, I have been really like trying to speak to my friends more and my family more, and just like adapt to the new way of living, and even learn to live alone, because sometimes, because it's the first time that I ever started to live alone, and left my family and came to France, because before France I haven't really lived anywhere international. So it has taught me a lot, to deal with different kind of people and different experiences, and I am really liking it so far, and I think it's helped me to grow as a person and to really learn. And I think Nightline is probably going to be really helpful as well.
Brilliant. Oh, well, they all sound like good plans of action, and I hope that you are be able to get back to some home cooked food in the near future. But yeah, and that till then, you have as good a time as you possibly can at the moment. So while I still have you here, is there anything else that you would like to add on our little podcast with Nightline?
I think if, the students who are listening to this podcast, I think I just want to tell that at the end, I guess there are like both positive and negative sides to everything, right? So probably there's something negative about, the quarantine or living alone or just, managing money and different kind of things. But like you learn so much, like the positive is so much more, because you learn to like really live alone and to love yourself and to just manage everything by yourself, be independent. So far I really like what I'm doing, and I hope to just like grow, because I think I'm just like, right now I'm 23. So to be a better version of myself, it will really help me. I know this whole period is going to be very helpful.
Oh, I think that's such a lovely sentiment to end it on. Thank you so much, Aankana. I think we're going to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for joining us and for all of your wise words. And I hope you have a lovely day.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy you reached out, and I hope to talk to you again.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We hope you found that episode interesting. Thank you, Aankana, for taking the time to talk so openly and honestly with us. You can subscribe to Aankana's YouTube channel and follow her on Instagram by clicking the links in the description below. Stay tuned for our next episode, where B will interview Joe Linton, a final year ULIP student. Joe is the Student Diversity and Inclusion Officer at ULIP. Tune in next time to hear his take on the relationship between mental health and race, as well as other personal and social factors. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on our latest content. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nightline France. Take care and feel free to call Nightline if you need to talk. We're here for you.